Hello, TJ. We are live. It's Wednesday, the first Wednesday of November. Can you believe it?
Good evening, Michelle. Wow. Where is the time going? November. It's soon going to be fireworks and then Christmas.
I know. Next month it's going to be Christmas, isn't it? It's crazy. Where is the time going?
It's just flying by all the time. But I hope you've been enjoying yourself while it's all been flying by.
Enjoying myself. I'm loving it. I'm so busy. Who's we got? My mum is watching. Hello, Mum.
Good evening.
Good evening. TJ is live with us in the studio.
Yes.
How are you, TJ?
Well, to be honest, I have just come back from another holiday. We've been away to Dorset. And I've come back with a little bit of flu. I'm going to say that the air is much heavier here and I need to spend more time on holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? One of the tips tonight in terms of surviving a personal crisis or any crisis is get yourself away from home. Take a vacation, take a short break, take a staycation somewhere, but somewhere different to your normal environment. But we'll talk about that later. But so you had a lovely time and come back with a bit of a flu.
I've had an amazing time. It's always great to get away, isn't it? And have a bit of sea air. We just love a bit of sea air.
Yeah, you love the sea though.
I do. It is my happy place. I can't deny that. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, trick-or-treating last night in the rain. That was my first ever trick-or-treat. And yeah, we spent some time over half term. That was really nice. Just went away for the weekend, and that was nice. It was just some downtime and just to recharge and recuperate. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's good. Really good.
And then back to the next 7 weeks till Christmas, isn't it? Really, 7 weeks till the kids break up, and then it's the Christmas holidays, and then we start a brand new year with 2023.
I know, another exciting year to come. All full of promises.
Absolutely. But tonight is all about how to cope in a crisis, TJ. And you know what? I looked up the definition of what a crisis was. And I do want the viewers to engage and to interact. If you've got any questions, if you don't like what I say, put a thumbs down. If you love what I say, give me a thumbs up. I'm sure, TJ, you'll always be devil's advocate, like you normally play that role.
I don't know what you mean.
And you ask the questions that the viewers are probably thinking, I wish I could ask that. But a crisis is a time of intense difficulty or danger, or a time when a difficult or important decision must be made. Similarly, it could be the turning point of a disease when an important change takes place, indicating either recovery or death. But crisis is normally a time of intense difficulty or danger. And I'm sure, as human beings, many people experiences crises at some point in their lives. Some people.
I think for all of us, we've all been experiencing lots of different crises due to COVID, losing jobs, not being able to see our families. Then we could see our families, then we couldn't. Now we're on the limbo of a strange government and not quite knowing, are the prices of houses going up, going down, are we keeping our jobs, losing our jobs? Can we even afford our electric and gas this year? I think loads of people are in a bit of crisis over that.
Absolutely. So there's loads of types of crises, aren't there? There's financial crisis. All the crises you just kind of went through is really what the current reality is, isn't it? Because we're in a bit of a limbo land. We don't really know what's going on, do we? We don't really know what to expect. Is there going to be a recession? Is it a recession? It's not a recession right now, but are they predicting it for 2023? But crises, they happen to all of us, whether it's personally or professionally. And sometimes they can change things forever. But if we're lucky, they can hopefully just inconvenience us temporarily, momentarily. But how we behave in a crisis can make all the difference, between us overcoming it or succumbing to the crisis, whether we're in control or whether we allow it to control us. And you may believe that you'll say, well, we don't really have control. I hear you probably ask, TJ.
Yes, And that is, a lot of people are thinking, it just happens. We can't control if it happens to us, can we?
No, and
we can't help if the bills come through the door and our company that we've been working for goes bust or decide they don't need enough people anymore. We're just in it and have to work it out while we're there.
Absolutely, and crises or disasters are sometimes, unpredictable. That the loss of the job or whatever it is could happen at any moment in time. But you may believe you have no control over a crisis situation or the situation, but on the contrary, there is much you can do beforehand and during a crisis. Particularly, your greatest freedom is your ability to choose how you respond to that crisis at that time. But how we behave and how we choose to respond can make all the difference between us overcoming that crisis or succumbing to it.
So say somebody has found themselves, I spoke to someone recently and they do have a job, but they had to take some time off because their son has become incredibly ill and is in hospital. Now they don't obviously get paid while they're at work, and they're obviously it's not them that's sick, it's their child. So they're still left with not earning any money and not being able to pay their bills. So they're feeling that they're in a little mini crisis and they just don't know what to do. What would you say for someone that's in that situation? Because there must be quite a few other people that will be in the same situation as that.
Absolutely, and in a financial crisis, an ideal world is to have some money saved as a safety net, isn't it? The saying "save for a rainy day," or I always, in terms of financial education, which is not taught in schools. I'm all for whatever you earn, whether it's on benefits, whether it's in a job, whether it's in a low pay job, high pay job, whatever you earn, pay yourself 10% first. So set aside 10%, pay you first and treat yourself like a bill and put that into an account where you save. Ideally, that's the ideal scenario where you've got some money saved as a safety net in the case of a job loss or the case where you've got to take long-term sick, in case of an industry shutdown or whatever it may be. That's the ideal scenario. But if you haven't got that and you haven't got the money saved, then this is the time to perhaps be creative. And is there something else you can do? Learn a new skill. Can you diversify your income and do something else while you're at home, while you're not doing your typical job and not being paid to do that? Find ways to cut costs. There's lots of things you can do financially in that situation. But trying to think of ways in which you can make money. There's lots of ways to make money. It's about getting creative and really wanting to step out your comfort zone and step up, isn't it?
And what about for the ones that really can't? So I'm thinking this person's she obviously has a job to go to, but she's sitting in hospital with her son at the moment, so there's not a lot she can do in there. Then you don't really have a reception, but she has got the bills still piling up. What can she do, to just try, because sitting there and doing nothing and not talking to the people about her bills is not going to help her either, is it?
No, and there's lots of support out there. If you actually just pick up the phone and speak to the people who you owe the bills to, I'm sure there's lots of support that those companies can offer to individuals, to help them in this situation of crisis. The first thing you do when you ring up your bank and your telephone banking, there's still the old COVID if you are in financial difficulty, and they talk you through what options you have. So I think a lot of companies, a lot of banks are pretty understanding at this time. But while she sat in the hospital bed nursing her son, she could be learning a new skill. She could be coming up with the creative ways of how else could I earn some money. I sat with a colleague today, I'm not mentioning any names, and I gave her some tips on how to make additional income that she should be earning. And when I gave her that perspective, it made her realise, yes, you're right, I could be earning, you're looking at additional few £1,000s every year.
Wow, that's a big difference, isn't it?
It is. When you're looking at, you could earn, £5 more £1,000 added to your salary. It's a big chunk of money that could help in these situations. So it's learning to be creative or getting yourself a business mentor who can help be your advocate and give you those ideas to help make more money. But
Yeah, and that will help you get out of feeling like you're in crisis then, wouldn't it?
It is, but it's how we behave in these crises. Crises are always going to happen, aren't they? It's part of human nature. There's always going to be challenges, obstacles, problems and setbacks and crises. And hopefully tonight we can give you some tips on how to best deal with a crisis. So tip number 1 from me is about being proactive and being prepared. They're typically unpredictable by nature. However, the best way to deal with the unexpected is to try and be prepared as possible. And I mentioned some tips on, financial crisis, making sure you have some money saved. If not, look at ways in which you can reduce your costs. How many people have even checked or bothered to check their monthly subscriptions that they've subscribed to on apps and haven't done an audit of actually are they still using those apps? Because that's every little helps, every penny counts, and we just pay these subscriptions and we forget that we're actually paying these subscriptions. And that could be a way of cutting costs, because people just having money taken out, direct debit, standing orders, when actually they haven't tracked them or monitored them. And are they really using them? How many people have got a gym membership and are not going to the gym?
Oh, so true, especially the app one. I know myself that I had some money coming out when I was doing a little audit on my budget, and I was thinking, what on earth is that?
Yeah.
And then when I started looking into it, it was like a magazine that I had on my app, and I didn't even realise. And and it's about going into that app and cancelling it because it's the only way to do it. It's stupid things. You just forget about them.
It's the same things whether you sign up to, and there's a thing that you tick when you sign to the terms and terms and conditions and agree to them. There's a little box that says they'll automatically renew, or you start a 3-month trial and you think you're going to cancel. You're not desperate, but you definitely want to cancel, and then you forget about it and it keeps rolling and rolling. It's these things you need to audit your financial situation to see where are you spending money, what apps are going out that actually you're not even using or you didn't even know of. So audit what is going out.
It's just too easy, them sorts of things, isn't it? I mean, there are so many crises, and if you don't sort out the money ones, those crises can then sort of just fall down into another one, can't they? Because then you might start arguing with your partner because you're worried about money, and then all those little annoying things, and then you end up from one crisis to the next crisis to the next. And it's so easy for it to all, especially right now where you're worrying about where's the money coming for Christmas, and are you going to be able to buy presents? Can you afford the bills? Are you going to keep your job? And it just spirals from one to the next, doesn't it?
It does, and this is where, absolutely, and one of my tips is about keeping your emotions in check, because when disaster strikes, we might feel like falling apart or running away or hiding from the problem, but the best response is to be as cool and calm and collected and together as possible, because when we react with fear, with anxiety, with, paralysis, that freezing, people just freeze, they don't know what to do. We lose time, don't we? That can make the difference in the outcome. So, tip number 3 for me is having a plan, making sure you expect the best, but have a plan for the worst, but have that expectation of the best too. I think my mum's writing something, and crisis can nearly always be managed with support from family, friends and professionals. Absolutely. You don't think you're alone with whatever it is you're going through. Talk to somebody about it. The mere act of talking, I think females are better at this than men, is talk through with somebody your problems, somebody you trust, somebody who can give you sound advice, because talking can help. And absolutely, all crisis, what you think is a crisis at that time, with somebody else's perspective could be shed a different light on it and can make you feel different about it, can't they?
Yeah, and it is important that you do that, because the more you bottle it up, the more it all seems so much worse than it really is, and it can become so difficult for you. And those crises, you feel like they're getting bigger and bigger, but you just have that conversation with someone, and then all of a sudden they give you those ideas and they can become smaller. And if you haven't got a friend that knows what to do, I don't know, maybe somewhere like Citizens Advice Bureau and get them and talk to them. They don't judge you, but you often people feel, especially if it's financial or even some of your personal problems with your partner, people get embarrassed about it, and they feel a little bit like, oh God, I don't want to tell people because that shows that I'm not in control of myself, and they feel embarrassed about it, don't they?
Because it exposes your vulnerability. It makes you vulnerable, doesn't it? When you're sharing problems, you're making yourself vulnerable. But sharing them with the right people who aren't going to judge you, who aren't going to make you feel like that, is key, isn't it? Because you don't want to be sharing your problems with somebody who is going to then judge you, talk to everybody about your problems, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it is normal for everyone to feel a little bit like that, isn't it?
It is. It's normal reaction to react with fear, react with anxiety, react by hiding and curling away. But setting yourself a plan, putting a plan of action of what you're going to do to overcome this. Expecting the best, but plan for the worst, but always have that expectation of the best. Taking action, tip number 4, take action. Don't wait for a crisis to resolve itself, because it's not going to resolve itself. Assess what's within your control and then take whatever actions are necessary to, mitigate that situation. Standing by helplessly and not acting can actually make you feel worse. But there are crises that are out of our control, but we are in control of how we choose to respond to those crises at that time. And even though you may not have a lot of control over the actual crisis, the situation, or what's happened to you, do what you can to contain, manage, and lessen that impact. That's what, our greatest freedom is, and I was doing this in staff training this morning, is our ability to choose our responses to things. And if we keep on reacting with fear, with anxiety, it's just going to be a self-perpetuating cycle. And like,
there's all sorts of those sorts of things, and I mean, even like in staff training, some people will feel so much out of their depth because it could be something new, or worrying that it'll be something that they don't know about. You send yourself into those little crises, don't you? They're not, but or you decide that little crisis will then make you think, well, I don't know what I'm on about, so I'm not going to go to work today. And then you think, and then I'm going to be in trouble for not going to work. Then I'm not going to have the money to pay my bills. And you just develop from one crisis to the next. And you've actually created a lot of them, haven't you?
It is, because a lot of it would be in our head, and we create those little crises in our head, and they become uglier and distorted. And it's like Chinese whispers. If there's 20 of us in the room and we play Chinese whispers, I guarantee if I start the conversation, it'll be a different conversation by the end of the 20 people, because it just gets distorted and uglier along the way, doesn't it?
It's so easy for it all to happen.
It is, and to spiral until you decide to take control. You've got to make that decision to take control, and seeking support is tip number 5, something we just spoke about. We don't have to handle crises on our own. Family, friends, support group, professionals, they're there to help when life gets difficult. Life isn't going to be easy. There's always going to be obstacles, setbacks, problems, and challenges. It's how we deal with them and how we respond to them. And in the event of a group crisis, communities often come together, don't they, and offer exceptional strength and support. And you never need to feel you're alone. So there's always support groups out there. My next tip, TJ, is about being patient, because a crisis often has its own timetable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And whilst we might want it to be over and done with as quickly as possible, we have no choice but to see that crisis right through to the end, and that end is its own time. Health pandemic, look at COVID. We had no control over that health crisis. People not being able to get to hospitals, everything shut down, people dying of COVID, people losing loved ones, people not being able to see friends and family, and what that did to the mental health. That health pandemic for the last 2 years is a real pandemic, but it has its own timetable. Suddenly COVID doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Oh, it's hard to be patient, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because you just want it all over and done with, or you want all what you want and you want it now, because we're very much a now society, really, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So,
and it's normal to feel frustrated or to get anxious or to get infuriated when we have limited control over a situation. But be patient with yourself and with your emotions too.
yeah, that one's a hard
Patience.
one, and it's something that you have to learn, isn't it?
You have to practice it and keep practicing it until you get better at becoming patient. My next one is one of my favourites, and I think I do this ever such a lot. And it's about not just learning the lessons in that adversity, but it's finding the blessings in adversity. And there's nothing like a crisis that makes you actually reevaluate your priorities in life. And quite often we forget or we take for granted about what's important, or we take for granted the opportunities or the freedom we possess. Before the pandemic, the pandemic took away people's freedom, didn't it? The COVID pandemic took away people's freedom. And it's about learning those lessons in that adversity, and it's making you take a step back to reassess and reevaluate what is important and what's not, or what we take for granted.
The problem is, I think that we all grow up where everyone loves to have a moan. If you don't know what to talk about with someone, everyone just has a moan about how bad everything is, how bad their life is, how terrible this is, how terrible that is. And when you've got to look at it, sometimes I look and think, well, it's like, and quite a few people that know me and know that I've had quite a few illnesses. It's an unfortunate thing, and I have had my own little crises and that. But then I look at it and think, but I'm still alive. I'm still going on holiday. I'm still doing things I shouldn't be doing. And it's about looking and thinking, I've got like 9 lives. I've defied all of these things. And it's about those sorts of things, isn't it? And thinking, well, I'm ill, but I'm not dying. I'm still doing this. I'm still doing that. I haven't got much money, but I've still bought Christmas presents, or I've still fed myself today.
Absolutely.
It's them little things, isn't it, that makes it, and you have to train yourself for that part, don't you?
And that's that practicing the art of gratitude, isn't it? The attitude of gratitude, no matter what we're going through. Let's focus on what we do have. Let's focus on what is going good, what is going right for us. And it does make you reevaluate and reassess and actually then appreciate what we take for granted. But it's about, reevaluating our priorities. But crisis can also expose our vulnerabilities, and we may discover the weaknesses in ourselves, how we conduct ourselves, or our psychological health. We might be, fragile emotionally, our inability to cope. And discovering our vulnerabilities can give us the opportunity to work on and strengthen those areas of weakness in our life too. But you're absolutely right, TJ. How we choose to respond to these things is key, is absolutely key. And you do see the positives. You do have the attitude of gratitude, and it does change your state. Instead of being in a state of poor me, of actually what you're experiencing right now, you're actually thinking, actually what I do have is good. What all the things I'm thankful for.
Yeah, because if you have the poor me attitude, everything just becomes miserable in your life, doesn't it? And you've got 2 choices. You either sit and wallow and keep digging that hole deeper and deeper, or you try to make that effort to climb out and go and get something a bit better for yourself.
Absolutely. And a crisis also, this is tip number 8, is resolve to improve. So, a crisis can be the wake-up call we need to propel ourselves to take necessary action, to whether it's improve your health, because it could be a health crisis. It could be to strengthen your business practice. It could be just to make you be more aware of any potential threats or danger to your well-being. And it's, resolving those to improve those things. And they could be those wake-up calls we just need. That crisis has come because you need that wake-up call. You need that, perhaps you need to have that crisis Perhaps you need to experience what you're experiencing to give you that boot up the backside to make you take action and take responsibility and accountability, whatever it is, for your own life. Because we are the CEOs of our own life. We are the creators of our own life. And some crises force us to do those things. And I think that's a good thing.
Some people say, let's just see what life brings to us, and we'll just deal with it as it comes.
What a great attitude that is. Whatever comes my way is solvable. Nothing is impossible. And that kind of mindset and attitude towards things that happen to us is a great one to have, because knowing that you can cope with any situation that anyone throws upon you, you're bigger than any problem. You are the solution. You are the solution. Some people just don't see it or realise it. That's all.
It is hard, isn't it? Because they have to gain that inner strength to fight back, really, don't they? Rather than keep taking it. And I know we had conversations before about people being bullied at work and not taking control of themselves, or putting up with relationships that are not great because they feel that they have no choices. And it's learning about
we do have a choice. People do. Absolutely. People do have a choice. People can choose to live the life they want to live. And how you choose to respond to your situations and circumstances right now is key. My tip number 9, TJ, is enjoying life, because crises are a part of life. They're going to happen. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be setbacks and challenges that will challenge you, and even challenge the happiest of people at times. No one escapes difficulties. Nobody escapes adversity. But once you survived a crisis, celebrate it. Congratulate yourself for getting through it, and be grateful for that experience, and know that good has come from it, and ultimately you've become a better person because of it. And we forget that in that moment of crisis, don't we?
Yeah, we definitely do.
Whatever that crisis is, financial, health crisis, identity crisis, some people don't even know who they are. There's so many different types of crises people can go through. Health crisis, pandemic, global crises that are going on right now in terms of, the up and down of the financial situation. Relationship crisis. There's so many crises that people can experience. But, avoiding, social addiction is, the endless stream of self-promotion, and it can lead to depression. I don't hang about on Facebook or my Twitters or anything else all day. It might seem like I do, but it's not me posting some of these things. I've got a team of great people who can do that, and it's not sucking yourself into that virtual world, and making time for real people and real conversations. You'll be surprised.
It's really easy to get caught up in all the social media thing, though, isn't it?
The whole virtual world, isn't it? People can so easily sit behind a screen and pretend to live this life. And then we've got the issue of then comparing and comparison, and, avoid social addiction. Set some time away. Limit how much time you spend on emails. Limit how much time you spend on social networks. And set a timer. Put your mobile device away, she says, as she's talking on a mobile device.
I was just about to say that.
As we're on social.
We've all been through that stage where you go on there just to do one thing, and then you end up flicking through, and you start watching videos and TikToks and get caught up on somebody's Instagram or finding out something. And before you know it, 3 hours have gone by and you haven't actually talked to the person next to you.
Yes.
And then you wonder why you might have a problem with your relationship or a work
or real life,
Been there.
Absolutely. And your mobile device keeps you attached to more drama than you actually need. So, and it makes it easier, because they're like an extension of our hands. It makes it easier to become addicted to social media. First thing you do when you get in from work, you sit down and you start scrolling through social media platforms. It makes it way too easy to become overworked and overtired. But when you step away from your desk, leave your phone there. I know it's crazy. Leave your phone there. My phone is, funny enough, has not become... I never used to go anywhere without my phone. Now I often find myself leaving my phone at home when I'm, going to work, and I've had to come back and get it, or Conroy's had to come back and get it, or just coming through. My phone's not
as... sort of life, though, isn't it? We all depend on it, and we need that. I mean, I don't know how we ever survived without mobile phones before, because we obviously can't do anything without one attached to us.
But you don't need to be connected to everyone every single minute, second of the day. And that release and relief could help you. Just remembering conversations, with people face to face. But how many people have conversations and have their phones there and get distracted by their phones when they're having those face-to-face conversations, and then wonder why the person you're with doesn't really want to see you again?
Yeah, that is so true. I've definitely been guilty of it, and I've been with other people that have done it to me as well.
Me too.
You're sitting there and you're thinking you're going to have this conversation, and then that person starts flicking through or messaging someone, and you're thinking, I'm telling you something really important, but you seem to be preoccupied with your phone. Yeah. Or they don't talk to you at all, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Your mum said that you have to walk to a red phone box. This is true. I do remember using the red phone box all of the time, and it being quite the norm.
I remember that, but I remember the phone cards that came in. I used to have a pile of them and put them in, and then the money runs out.
Yeah.
Well, I had to walk to those phone boxes too.
But it is a strange time. We've had a very few strange years where people have done exactly what you said. They've lost who they are, or they've realised that they've lost who they were, and because they've been so wrapped up with the fast life, and all of a sudden you slowed down and you were out without lots of people, and now they're in that crisis of, I'm in a job I don't like, or I'm about to lose a job I don't like. I'm not even sure I want the relationship I'm in. I've lost who I am, and I've got a ton of bills to go through. So these people are in a spiral of lots of crises, and you can see why lots of people are getting into feeling quite depressed. What would you advise these people right now? Where do they start? Because a lot of it is, oh my God, I see I've got a problem and I don't even know where to start. What would you do with them?
The first thing is to make you just reevaluate what is important to you. And a really good exercise is the values exercise. Yeah, what is important to you? Because there's nothing like a crisis to help make you reevaluate your priorities. Whether that's a financial crisis, a personal crisis, relationship crisis, identity crisis, you've lost yourself, children have left home, you don't know who you are, or your mum, or you're this, or you're that, or you're this hat, but where's Michelle, or where's whoever in all of this? And we just don't know. And this is a great time in these adversities to reevaluate what's important to us. Just reevaluating, and perhaps it needs somebody who can give a non-judgmental, non-biased perspective, talking it through with a professional, talking it through with a business mentor, a friend, a family, to help shed a different perspective on things for you. Because when we live in our own heads and we live in our own thoughts, and overthinking can just drive us insane, can't it? And sometimes you just need another person's perspective to help us reevaluate. But, crises are a part of life, and it's how we choose to respond to them that is key in moving forward, whether we overcome them or succumb to them. And I want each and every one of us to be able to handle the crises that we experience, that we are facing, that are to come, and overcome them through some of these tips I've given you. So tip number 1 is about being proactive, being prepared. For financial crises, start saving now. Start paying yourself 10% of whatever you earn, whether that's on benefits, whatever. Pay yourself 10% and set aside 10% first. Expect the best, plan for the worst. Keep your emotions in check. Take action. Don't wait for the crisis to resolve itself. decide what action you have control over that you can do to help mitigate situations. Seek support, lots of friends and family, professionals. Be patient. We spoke about being patient. Learn the lessons in those adversity. Resolve to improve situations, because it could be the wake-up call you needed just to give your, a boot up the backside to do something different, to learn a new skill, to diversify your income, to take care of your health, to start looking after yourself, or whatever the crisis is. And then the last one is enjoy life. Celebrate and congratulate when you've overcome the crisis, because we often don't do that and we forget about that. There's other things you can do for surviving personal crisis. I mentioned a few others. Avoid social addiction. Spend less time on your phones. Put your mobile devices away and give yourself a break. Speak kindly to one another. Write down your goals. Keep a calendar of what you're doing. Try to schedule in as much as possible before 2 o'clock, because after 2 o'clock we hit this kind of slump generally. Take holidays. Take a break. Get away from your desk. Take care of yourself before you take care of others. Do things that relieve your stress and release anxiety, relieve your anxiety. There's just lots of tips I just want to give you tonight to help you overcome any crisis that any of you may be facing right now. I don't know if there's any viewers who are keen to share any crisis, any things. I know you've given a few, TJ, that could be, situational right now for people, and I hope I've given some tips to help that.
I think one of the best things I was just thinking of some of the things you were just saying, where you'd once said, think about how you would talk to a friend and then talk to yourself, because we often say things to ourselves that is so cruel.
Absolutely.
Which puts us in often the crises we're in. And that's why, that's what you said before, is, think about how you're going to talk about friends before you talk to yourself, and then talk to yourself as if you were talking to your friend.
Absolutely.
That's a nicer way to start, isn't it?
It is. And in all of this, you have to take care of you, don't you? You've got to take care of yourself to lessen the physical and the emotional effects of a crisis, because it will take its toll on you. Have you exercised because it releases the good, feel-good, endorphins? Do you listen to music to help change your state? Do you journal? Do you write gratitude lists? Do you read? Do you meditate? Do you, watch a funny show or watch some funny clips on social media? And do you engage in any activity that takes you away from, unhelpful thoughts, unhelpful frame of mind? But if you take care of yourself, you're better able to tackle any crisis that comes your way. And it is all about our approach to the crisis and what we think about it and how we choose to respond to it. So I hope tonight has given some tips for people, because it is unprecedented times, it is uncertain times, and I understand people could be facing losing jobs, in financial crisis, unable to pay their electric bills. Are they going to be able to afford the electric bills? And all those worries and doubts and fears. Let's not, and I think this is one of the biggest tips, let's not worry about what is not yet. Let's not worry, because the more we worry about things, we're going to manifest them and bring them into our reality. Let's focus on the solutions. Let's focus on what we do have. Let's focus on what we can afford. Let's focus on all the things that are possible, not all the things that aren't. My mum is saying, sorry, TJ.
It's very true, because if we wait for everything we think might happen, but might not happen, we're wasting the time we've got right now, aren't we?
We are, and we're not being fully present. And my mum is saying, call the crisis a learning curve. There are lessons, aren't there, in any and every adversity, and it's learning those lessons. Like I said, it could help you reevaluate your priorities, because we often forget and take for granted those freedoms and opportunities that we do have. So yeah, it's all about learning, and it is life. Life is not always going to be easy. It's how we respond to those things that happen in our lives that make us the person we are and help us determine whether we overcome or succumb to the crisis at that time.
This is true.
So,
yeah, you're changing the subject just a little bit. We went to your networking event a little while ago, met lots of lovely people. And I also saw that you've got a book out. What is that book called?
So that book is the first of a little, the Mr. Men, or the Little Miss or the Mr. Men collection.
Yeah.
This is going to be a collection of a 15, 20-minute read, bedtime reading. It is dedicated for bedtime reading. The last thing you should do before you go to bed is read one of these books. And this was the launch at the networking event. That was my little surprise for people. It was the launch of the first of that series, and it was all about thoughts, how to get exactly what you want. It's only a 3-chapter, 20-minute. I've put on the back a 15-minute read. I think my mum said it's about a 20, 25-minute read. But it's a great thing to read before you go to bed. And the next book will be out at the next networking event in January, which is an ideal opportunity to talk about goal setting. So that second book will be about exactly how to achieve your goals. So I'm excited at the prospect of writing that book. But, in these times, we've also got to diversify income, haven't we? And this is one way of diversifying income and creating some passive income. So, get your thoughts on paper and get things out there. So that's the next networking event is in January. I think the date, I don't even want to say the date, it's around the 17th or 19th of January.
Exciting.
Yeah, so
what's the book called and where are we getting it from?
So the book, I'm sure Akeem is on live, and I'm sure he will place something in the comments box now with the QR code to scan. But you can literally go to our website, www.reactiv8.org.uk, and go to the shop, and the book is in the shop. It is £8.88, and it will be the best £8.88 you'll spend, because it will just reiterate some of the things we speak about and how, give you some tips on how to get exactly what you want by understanding your mind and understanding the power of your thoughts. So that's what that book is all about. I'm so excited about it, because when you learn this way of life and when you master your mind, you really do master your world. And people do not understand the impact of their thoughts. So get this book. It will be the best bedtime read you can have. And so I've had some feedback, actually. A lady from the school run happened to have bought the book, and I didn't know who it was. It posted out to her. She stopped me at one of the school gates and said, "Oh, I've just bought your book." And then the next time I saw her, she said, "I've just read your book and it is amazing. It's made me think differently. It's made me speak to my husband and he's into it all." And she said it's really just helped her get back on track. So just get this book. It's an amazing book. It's the first of a little mini series.
Oh, congratulations on your book out.
Yeah, thank you.
It sounds like not only is it a great bedtime read for me, but also a great Christmas present to give to everyone else, ready for the new year, and then preparing for what they want to do with their future.
Absolutely. And how great it would be to get the collection. You'll get a personally signed copy from me. So those that want it, put a note on the thing, and I write you a special message just from me. So it's cheaper than buying 2 cups of coffee, going for a coffee with a mate, isn't it? And I know at this times people don't want to spend, but I promise you it will help change your state of mind, and it will help you understand why you think the way you think, and hopefully to help improve that. So get the book. £8.88 will be the best £8.88 because of the value and content that you'll get in that time for the money.
Well, brilliant. I'm very excited. So get on the website and go in the shop and buy the book.
Absolutely. And there is also an electronic PDF version coming to the website by the end of this week. So that will be another option.
You can get it instantly. That's fabulous.
Yeah, so you get it straight in your inbox and you can read it straight away. You don't have to wait for it to be physically posted. So there'll be that option at the end of the week too.
Brilliant.
So thank you, TJ, for tonight. It's been lovely talking to you.
It's been great talking to you, and I hope that we've helped lots of people with their crises because, if we can get and understand that and get out, we'll all be better people for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, TJ, for your time. Thank you to the viewers for watching tonight. I hope tonight's tips have given you some tips on how to best manage in a crisis, and we look forward to seeing you on the 1st of December, the first Wednesday of the month. That'll be when we're next joining TJ on the first Wednesday of December. So the first Wednesday of every month, you get me and TJ live.
Great. I can't wait to speak to you again on our next monthly motivation.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the viewers who are watching tonight. Give us some thumbs up, give us some love, some hearts, and we'll see you next month. Have a great November, and keep safe with fireworks and bonfires.